2, 1, 2. Here we go. It's my time to rise. It's my time to shine. It's my time to live. It's my time to fly. It's my time. It's my time. I can see it. I can feel it. Time has come now to reveal it. I've been waiting for a long time, gotta do it, and won't let nothing hold me down, gotta do it, because I may not get another chance, I believe it, if I want it, I can have it, I believe it, done with falling, done with losing, I can do it, I think I'll tell myself again, I can do it. Yeah, and I'm not gonna stop till I win, 'cause it's my time to rise. Hey, it's my time to shine. Oh, it's my time to live. It's my time to live. It's my time to fly. Oh, it's my time. It's my time. It's my time to. It's my time to soar. It's my time. It's my time. Singing, it's my time.
All right. Happy Wednesday. This is Kendall Anise. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Shine, where I turn my spotlight on people, topics, and subjects that are real, honest, and relevant to you. Again, I am Kendall Anise. I'm also known as Lady Motivator. I am a transformational expert, certified life coach, speaker, author, and your host for Shine. But most of all, I am a lover of people, and I want to see us all win. This is why I bring some of these topics and some of these people to the forefront, so you can hear their story and see, what's going on with other people, and to see how you can connect with others. Today, this is a part 2 of last week. If you didn't hear our last week episode, hashtag Metoo, we were talking about the Metoo movement in the church. This, again, is part 2, and we're going to be talking about the hashtag Metoo movement, but we're going to talk about the original definition. So for those of you that have been under a rock the last year, or you just haven't listened or heard, or you're not active on social media, you haven't watched the news, I want to explain what the Metoo movement is. So the Metoo movement, hashtag Metoo, started October 2017 as a hashtag on social media to demonstrate and to help demonstrate the widespread prevalence of sexual assault and harassment in the workplace and beyond. And this all went down after the sexual misconduct allegations against Harvey Weinstein. And he was a Hollywood executive, a shot caller, a boss in that industry. And he was able to get people jobs or to blacklist them or blackball them if he didn't get what he wanted sexually from women. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So Me Too is a relatable subject. A lot of women have gone through this in the workplace. And sadly enough, it happens so much in the workplace that a lot of women just think it's normal. We have the whatever attitude. Let me just go on about my business. Let me get this check. Let me just do my job, keep my nose to the ground, and keep my eye on the prize type of attitude. And we brush it off. As women, we always brush those type of things off. It happens all the time, whether it's the construction worker as you're walking down the street, whether it's the cashier saying something slick about you physically or sexually, whether it's another employee, a coworker, or your boss. I mean, it happens so much that sometimes we just brush it off like, yeah, whatever. And we forget that it's happening because it's happening so much. So many people have some slick and sleazy comments to women that it just becomes a part of the fabric of our life and who we are. Like, yeah, men will just say whatever they want out of their mouths type thing. And it's not okay. And it always takes one person to say, this is not okay. And I don't have a problem, nor does my guest, who I'll introduce momentarily, have a problem being the voice for the voiceless. And it always takes one person to speak up and say what they've been through for other people to come out. I know a lot of people say, well, why didn't they do it before? Why did now they're following this person? Why are they doing that? And that's because a lot of people don't have, I don't want to say the guts, but the lack of better words, I'm going to say that. They're afraid. People have to make a living. People have to take care of their children and their children and their families. People are in school. People don't want to be blackballed, as I said earlier, or blacklisted. People don't want to just be shunned or shamed. And I was just watching Scandal a couple of weeks ago, and they had something similar on there where a girl committed suicide because she didn't want to give it up, because there was a group of lawyers real quick, and they had a list going around. So a lot of owners of law firms and associates of law firms had a list of the young interns. And they had it coded whether this one is going to give it up or this one is going to go to first base and second base and all of that. And they were going to determine whether they got a permanent job, out of their internship. And the one girl, he blackballed her. He told everybody like she's not going to give it up. And it got to the point where she committed suicide because she wanted to work for a certain law firm. And, people might say, oh, that's TV, but that's real life. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So without further ado, I want to introduce Rosheka Henry. She is an author. I was going to say actress, artist, and a speaker. And I am so pleased to have her again on this week talking about this Metoo movement. Hey, Rosheka.
Hello again, Miss Ladies. How are you?
I am well. I thank you so much for coming back the second week in a row talking about this series.
Honor is mine. I am just thankful that you allowed me to, because this subject is near and dear to my heart.
So let's talk about that. Let's jump right in. Let's not have them wait any further. Why is it so near and dear to your heart?
Because I feel like I have dealt with it on every aspect of my adult life. From, like I said, we talked about church last week, from work, school, and just walking down the street. And I'm just so happy that we are finally standing up and doing something about it collectively as women.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be brave and bold enough, like you said, I'm glad we're stepping up also. And it always takes one person to be a voice for the voiceless. And I think I've been a voice for the voiceless since I was a child. Like, I'm the same person. I'm just real grown right now. But and I want to ask you, have you always been a voice for the voiceless, or even a voice for yourself? Or is this something that you're taking on right now as an adult?
It is something that I'm taking on right now as an adult. I was the timid woman. Mm-hmm. I was a timid child. I've been timid all of my young teen life and most of my 20s. And that's how I became a victim with so many stories. Who is now a victor because I have a voice. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I started out not having a voice for myself at all. So I had a whole lot of people run over me before I got here.
Wow. So let's talk about that. I'm glad that you are changing, and I'm glad that you are speaking up for yourself and other women. So let's talk about, I know this is a 30-minute show, and I know we can talk for days about this issue. As I said earlier, it's happened so much to many of the women listening to the show right now. So let's talk about an account where you were at the workplace and you felt uncomfortable, or you felt like, this is not right. This person shouldn't be doing this, but let me go on about my work. Can you recount or recall a time that this has happened to you, that you can say, hey,
Absolutely.
me too? Okay, let's talk about it.
Absolutely. Which one is the problem?
Okay, let's talk about the one that sticks out the most.
Let's talk about that one.
Okay.
I used to work at my local hospital.
Okay.
And I worked on second shift, and I got off around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And it was this guy who always made his way to my office, and he always said little things here and there. This particular night, I got off of work and walked to my car, and at that time, I lived about 30, 35 minutes away from my place of work. And that night, I'm riding down the road, listening to music, just in my own zone, not paying attention behind me. But when I got home, a car pulled up in the yard behind me. And I did not know who it was, so when I got out the car, it was that guy from the hospital who had followed me all the way home. And I got out the car, found out it was him, and he was coming close to me. And I told him, my parents are in the house. And that's when he jumped in his car and left. I went to the hospital and the next day, and I reported it to security. First, I wondered, should I? Because he was one of the guys that everybody kind of liked. So I decided to report it to security. And when I reported it to security, the top guy at the time came to my office, and he asked me to be quiet about it. He said, let me handle the situation. Let's don't make a big scene yet. Let me see what was on his mind, because we have had no problem out of this guy. So I was like, fine. So they went and talked to him, and then came back to me later on that afternoon. And later on that afternoon, they told me, well, he didn't mean any harm. We have no problems out of him. He said he'll never do it again.
What?
He just wanted you really bad.
What?
And he thought, yes, he wanted me really bad. And his intent was to ask me out.
Oh, that's
He
crazy.
followed me home.
He could have asked you that at the hospital. Like, come on, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. This guy could have done me harm. He's walking up on me. The only reason he stopped in his track is because I told him I was not alone.
Right.
That my parents were in the house.
Right.
And he drove off. And before then, the harassment that he was doing at work, the comments, the touching on the shoulder, the trying to grab me on my clothes while I'm walking, the things, and then he progressed to following me home 35 minutes away. And when I took it to you guys, you tell me to be quiet about it, and you tell me to leave it alone. He's never going to do it again. Let's don't make a big scene out of it. I wish that I had have went further and reported to Human Resources, but again, I was timid at the time. So I let it be and left it alone and swept on the rug, okay? He left me alone for a good 2 months before he found the courage to speak to me again and start all over again.
See, this is the problem. That's an issue, because a lot of employers brush it off because it's the good old boy network. You know, I was talking about Scandal earlier. I'm thinking about in the 90s, A Different World. I don't know if you all are A Different World viewers. And when Whitley was being sexually harassed at work just by him saying little things, because I really want to make it clear, that's really severe, because he could have harmed you. And it happens, and it happens subtly too. And a lot of people, it happens so subtle. It's so subtle that people don't know. Like, I'm thinking about a time, and I never thought about it actually until I've mentioned it several times since it happened many, many years ago. But then I started really thinking about it. I remember I worked for a large corporation, and I worked for Citigroup. I worked for Citigroup years ago, and I remember my boss, we had a 7-Eleven like not too far from us, and somebody was going to get coffee. And he would say, make it like Kendall's legs, make it like that color. Like, that's the color that I want my coffee. And I was like, this man is crazy. And I'm not thinking about how inappropriate it is. Like I said, we brush things off. Right. And he was like, yeah, let's do that. And then he would say stuff like, and this is a white guy, and he was like saying, okay, all of the white girls, you have to wear stockings, but Kendall, you don't have to wear stockings because the color of your legs are nice, and you don't have to wear stockings, but they do. And I'm just like, this man is nuts. And I'm not thinking, like, I'm thinking it's uncomfortable, but I'm not thinking like, let me report this because this is not right. It was uncomfortable, and I kind of brushed it off, as women do. But when I think about that now as an older, more seasoned woman, I think I was in my 30s at that time. And now I'm, pushing almost 20 years after that. But or maybe not.
You look good for your age.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think I was like in my early 30s. Now I'm in my late 40s. So but I just remember just like, that's, like, how do you think it's okay to even say that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And he did. And it was nothing. It was like in front of everybody. It wasn't a secret. He didn't pull me to the side. Like, that's the kind of stuff that men do to women in the workplace, and they think it's okay. And I'm here to tell you, men, you got to watch your step. You got to be careful, because you got to think about, you have wives, you have daughters, you have sisters, you have aunties, you have grandmothers, and you don't want somebody to come out of pocket with them saying things sexual to them, because it's unwanted sexual attention. And no employee, and I can't say no, because I'm sure someone can say, well, there's one person, but when a woman is there to do her job, she's there to do her job. I'm not saying that she's not thinking men are attractive and all of that. In this case, I wasn't thinking that, but, that's kind of, those are the things we're subjected to, even if we don't want to. That banter, if it had been another guy there, then they would have gone on and bantered, back and forth, and thinking that stuff is okay and cute. And just because a woman doesn't say anything, you don't know. What if I didn't, but what if I went home crying? What if I called out of work for a week straight? What if I couldn't do my work properly because I felt uncomfortable? And that's what's happening to a lot of women out there. Have you ever been in a situation where you just felt uncomfortable and uneasy at work?
Oh, absolutely. I've been in the situation you just mentioned. I did not want to go to work. Mm-hmm. I cried before I went to work. I did not want to go there. It was horrible, because I was getting harassed around the clock. Not just one person, but the hospital is an atmosphere where you can get harassment from sometimes the patient, sometimes the guys that work there, sometimes the doctor. The list just goes on. Yeah. You encounter so many people, and it got to a point where as a woman, what I was thinking was, I don't want to cause trouble. I don't want these people looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm a single mom. I need to do my job. Mm-hmm. I have bills. Mm-hmm. I don't know who to go to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can go to human resources, but I've seen what happens to women that go to human resources. I see how everybody treats them. So I'll just take the abuse. I'll just take the unwanted touches, because that's what they are. See? The horrible comments going up my clothes. We all been there. I'll take it. But mentally, it breaks you down. That's not what I want.
And to feel like... No, absolutely not.
It's helpless.
Yeah.
Out of control. And it's so out of control.
Especially if it's someone you work closely with, or if it's a supervisor or
Absolutely.
a manager. But the
It's
problem...
like a consuming fire.
Right.
How are they going to contain it?
Right.
When it's out of control, it should have been controlled a long time ago.
Right.
Women should have been able to speak up a long time ago. But now, in an environment such as that, or a plant, I can only imagine, it's almost like you have to fire almost the whole plant to get it under control.
See, the problem, no, you're so right. And the problem is with this whole subject, the problem is, and women have to deal with this all the time, and I know for a fact that women are listening to this like, yup, because women, it's almost like if you're a woman, or if you're attractive, or you have something that they like, you almost don't stand a chance, like you don't have a brain. That's how much it's almost like, how can I say it? It's almost like you're not seeing my value. You're not seeing my worth. You're my professionalism, my intelligence, my skill to solve problems and to move ahead in this industry, whatever industry it is. All you see me as is a piece of meat. And I know a lot of women go through this, like in Hollywood, or if they're trying to be an artist, or if they're trying to, like you said, in a hospital, in a financial facility, or if you're trying to make it to the next level, whatever that is. It's almost like they feel like they can challenge that sexually first to see where you are, because that's what they do. They gauge it if they see someone that they want, and it's almost like, hey, I'm smart, hey, I'm intelligent, like, is this what you're seeing? And I think a lot of women have that problem, that they feel like they can't move ahead, or they can't keep their job if they're not willing to key, or you're crazy, or kind of feed into it. And I think that's so unfair that women have to deal with something like that when men can go to work. Now, I'm not saying men aren't sexually assaulted, because there are a lot of women out there, I just want to be clear, that say very derogatory and unnecessary things to men about the size of their package, or I bet you can't do this in the bedroom, or look at your shoulders, or oh, you smell good. If that is unwanted, that's sexual harassment on the other side. And there are a lot of forward women that do that. So I want to be clear, this is not just a topic that affects women. Have you ever seen in a workplace where they're kind of like doing this to a man?
Absolutely. And I've also seen men that do not want it.
Yeah.
They don't want it.
Yeah.
They try to ignore it like we do. And I've heard a few of them, I'm not going to say a lot, but I've heard a few of them say, well, I don't want to hurt her feelings.
Mm-hmm. Or she's my boss. She's my boss.
Yes. And I've seen it. I have seen it. And they take it and take it and they take it.
And even touch him. A guy was telling me one time on the elevator that he was on, it was one of my clients. He said he was on a elevator, and he was on the elevator with his boss. And his boss was an older woman, and he was, I think, in his 20s or 30s. And the lady was at least over 20 years older than he is, or was at the time. And she touched his butt in the elevator, and she laughed it off, and she thought it was cute. That's inappropriate, and he's, feeling uncomfortable. Men, I think people don't understand that men have feelings too. And men don't want everybody that comes to them. Men, just because people think that men like sex, or men might find that appealing, or no, some men don't want you touching them and saying derogatory things to them either. It goes both ways.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Sure does.
Let's talk about another time where you experienced something and you weren't sure if it was that, and how do you think other women should respond in your situation?
Wow. Well, I tell you what, I was actually working as a teacher assistant when I first started off. And there was this male teacher. Every day, it was nice comments, and it started off like that. And it's thank you, and you go on about your business. It graduated from there to you blocking me in the hall. And I have little children with me now, so they see you blocking me in the hall or being appropriate. You're touching my face. So now at this point,
but do you understand that's violation? Touching is a violation.
It was so horrible and so creepy. Once again, I was a timid woman back then. Timid as in I did not learn to speak up for myself. I did not know about the voice that I had. I just didn't know. So a lot of times I just let it go. I was even told in the workplace that, well, your beauty is your curse.
Mm.
I was told that, you know what, you can't blame these men because, I mean, look at you. So you need to be thanking God that he made you pretty or whatever.
So it's almost like making you feel guilty. Like making you...
all I got.
See, that's the problem.
And that's what I got from the head. If I went to the head, if I found courage, I never got anybody to stand up for me. And women, if I was myself, who I am right now, back then, I wouldn't have took any of it. It would have been just a different story because I would have fought for myself and fought for every woman in the workplace that I thought was going through what I was going through, and they were. So if you know, if this is going on with you right now, you have to stand up, not just for yourself. You have a responsibility to stand up for others.
Yes.
And those behind you.
Yes.
When we don't know, really, and back then we really didn't know, so it's hard to be held accountable in the magnitude that we're held. Right now, this is happening, you have no excuse.
It's happening now.
So many people are speaking out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So many people are speaking it out. There are no excuses. If you don't stand up, well, my job, go work for yourself, but I'd rather work for myself. I'd rather lose my job than to look back 5 and 10 years and feel like I feel now.
Yeah.
Like I let people violate me.
Yeah. And I
for a minimum wage job, really?
Yeah.
Wasn't worth it.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you're giving that advice to women. And this happens to women of all ages, in all occupations, all professions. It happens. I mean, it's happened to me fairly recently, and I had to confront the guy, and I did not confront the guy right away. I kind of tried to do it indirectly because it was almost subtle. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? And I had to end up confronting the guy. I had to sever some business relationships because of that. Like, you shouldn't be asking me what color panties I have on or what color or what kind of panties do I wear. If I'm doing business with you and I'm not in a relationship with you, that's none of your business. You know, oh, I'm sure you want me. No, I don't. Actually, you're not my type, and I'm definitely not attracted to you. And I'm doing, this is about business. You get what I'm saying? And a lot of women have to deal with this in business. Like, you don't know if people want to do business with you because later on down the line they want to sleep with you.
That's right.
Or because they think that you know what I mean? And you don't know.
Yes.
And I know a lot of men don't have to deal with this upfrontness. Like, it's like we have to think about it. We can't just say, oh, they think I'm talented, they think I'm intelligent, and they want to work with me. It's always in the forefront of your mind. Are they trying to sleep with me afterwards? And it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't feel that way because we are smart. We do have brains. We have more than just our female parts. And I think it's so unfair that women have to deal with this in business. It's like, I mean, I've been, it's happened years ago with me. I mean, it's happened quite a few times. Nobody touched me. Oh my God, I can't even imagine what you've gone through with that. But just saying, just slick, untasteful, distasteful comments, just,
it's
you don't know. And then it comes. It sneaks up.
Stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
That's when they respect you.
Yeah.
I don't care how nice you are.
Yeah.
And you don't want them. You don't want the
Absolutely.
trouble. If you let them get away with
That's right.
It's they think, oh,
Yeah.
she don't even like herself.
Yeah.
Oh, she let me disrespect her.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no respect there.
Exactly. And that, when you find out, like at first, okay, is this person? And then when I said something and one of the guys said, you know what? That was wrong. I should have. And I didn't. I said, you know what? I said, that was horrible. I said, you got to watch yourself. I said, with men in business, I said, little stuff like that. I said, you might think that that's cute and you might think that that's innocent flirting, but it's disgusting. And I looked dead, and I said, it's disgusting. I said, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. I said, you gotta, and these are married men. These are men in relationships. These are men of a certain stature. And those are the ones that those are the ones that really think that they can do it. Like your bosses, your managers.
You hit it on the nail.
They think that that's their right.
The married ones.
Yeah.
It's mostly the one with girlfriends or pregnant girlfriends or live-in girlfriends. For some reason, I've had more problems in that area than a single guy. And that's so sad to say, but it's so real.
What would you tell, since you're talking about that, it is definitely real, Rosheka, absolutely. Like, what would you tell if you had the chance to confront a wife or a girlfriend of someone that was doing this? What would you say to her?
Oh my God.
Because, sometimes people think their men are, certain ways and they're really not.
Right.
Sadly. And there's some, let me just stop. There are some great men out there, married men in relationships, managers and supervisors that they don't do that. I'm not for male bashing. That's not how I'm built, because there's some wonderful men out there who are faithful and loyal. And there are a lot of men out there that don't do this to women. They respect women and they exalt them. So I just want to be clear. This is not all women.
And I have to come behind you and say, you are so right, because I know a lot of them. This is not who they are.
Right.
It's just some of them. But there are some great men out there. So we're not, like you said, this is not male bashing, because I know some great ones and have one of my own.
Hey now. So
this is for those that do. What I would tell their women, oh my gosh. You know what? I don't know what, but I can tell you this. There is something called intuition that God put inside of us. If your man is like that and he's after every skirt, that he's shown some sign of that. And if we could just listen, I heard Oprah Winfrey say something that stuck with me, and this is the best that I can describe it. There's a aha moment that she was talking about, and she said if women could listen to that aha moment, that moment, and don't put anything else in the way, listen to that intuition, it can save us from so much. We can ask questions. And I'll tell you this, sometimes it's really hard, because I was married to a guy in the past that was accounted for. He answered my calls. He was at home. He was accounted for, but he lived a double life. I don't know how he did it. He did it, though. So I can tell you this, there were aha moments. There were moments that things did not make sense. So if I could have listened to those moments, I could have saved myself a few years.
That's excellent.
That's all I can say.
That's excellent advice. And just to really, and like you said, some of the men are accounted for. And just like with me, sometimes you might not say something right away. Even in my case, you want to make sure it's happening because you don't want to falsely accuse someone, or you don't want to confront someone with that. So you're like, okay, let me see first. And then when you know that it's happening, you need to say something immediately. You need to say something to the person to let them know, hey, you're not going to try this again. It's not right. What you're doing is not right. I'm not interested. And this goes out to the ladies. Ladies, you have to be clear. You have to be clear and you have to be precise. If you're flirting back and you're doing certain things like that, you have to be precise. And if you're not interested, I'm not interested. If it's offending you, I'm offended. If it's hurting your feelings, this is hurting my feelings. And hey, I'm going to report it, whatever you have to say, because your safety is most important. And that's your mental safety also, your emotional safety. So this is for ladies of all ages. If you feel that it's not right, 9 times out of 10, it's not right. And you need to say something. And I know it's not always easy to say something. Even if you have to tell a friend who is not afraid to say something, then you need to have it said, because you may be timid, like Rosheka said she was, and unable to speak up for yourself. Everybody has a friend who is not afraid to speak.
Okay.
So you have to talk to that friend to say something. And if you're not able to verbalize it, put it in a letter, put it in an email, and tell someone, because it's not right. And just because you're a woman, you shouldn't have to endure this type of behavior from any man in the workplace. And men, same goes for you. You shouldn't have to. People think, oh, well, you're sexual beings, or you probably like it if a woman hits on you. If you're not interested, you need to say that you're not interested, and you need to follow the same steps as a man. This has been awesome. This time goes by so quickly. Is there any last advice before I get your where can they reach you info? Is there any advice that you would give a young woman that's going through that right now? The Me Too.
Value yourself. When you value yourself and when you love yourself, you won't let anybody treat you that way. A lot of times we don't value ourselves, or we don't think enough of ourselves to speak up for ourselves, or we don't love ourselves enough to go through the trouble of going to human resources and being looked down upon and talked about. We don't think that we are enough for that, but you are. I didn't know that then, but I know it now. If I could have valued and loved myself, there's no way I would have let anybody take advantage of me in any kind of way. Not that way. So that would be my advice. And another thing before we go, if it's happening to you, just think to yourself, if my daughter was in this spot right now, or my niece, what would I tell her to do?
Absolutely. I think, Rosheka, that was excellent advice. And I hope everyone is listening, and she's been where you are. I've been where you are. The woman to the left of you, the man to the right of you, they've been where you are. Me Too, again, is not just for women. A lot of men are sexually harassed every single day in the workplace. And a lot of men will not speak up because they think they're a punk if they speak up, or I should be able to handle a woman hitting on me. No, if it's unwanted, it's wrong in your case also. I wanted to thank Rosheka Henry for joining us again today. Her book is called Back from Broken. Rosheka, how can our listeners get in touch with you, and how can they purchase your book?
Okay, you can email me at backfrombroken1@gmail.com, or you can go to www.backfrombroken.com, and you can leave a message or order the book, or you can order the ebook there, or you can go to iTunes and order the book as well. You can also go to my Facebook page at Rosheka Henry, and my Instagram page would be backfrombroken1, and that's at Instagram.
Wonderful, wonderful. I thank you so much for joining me, Rosheka, and I have to have you back when we talk about something fun, because the show will be silly. We'll talk about serious topics. We'll talk about fun topics. A lot of different. I believe that one should have not balanced. One should have balance in their life. If you can laugh and joke, then you should talk about serious issues as well. So I want to thank you all. Absolutely. Thank you once again, Rosheka, for joining Shine. And I want to thank you all. Thank you. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to Shine. You can find me on social media platforms at Kendall or K.Lanice. No need to dim anyone else's light. We can all shine together. Again, this is Kendall Lanice. For more information about me, you can always visit livingtruelivingyou.com or ladymotivator.com to find me on social media and just to get to know me a little better. Again, I'm here every Wednesday night, Eastern, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch me right through livingtruelivingyou.com. Until next time, peace, love, and light. God bless.
Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. But here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, the smiles return into the faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. But here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. 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 Little darling, I feel the ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been clear. But here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. So